Gary Ball looking for speed. Oh, he's beating Danny Moore too. Bruton, 3-on-1 again. This is McDaniels, 2 points. You made the comment there, Phil, they're starting to throw down almost. Cleaned up finally by Herb McGeechan. 2-on-1 between Spice and McGeechan. Little left-hand lap. Too easy for the Canada. There's something very, very physical under the boards. Oh, man. We've got to have a look at that again. That's the Alabama slammer in action. Oh, my God. Absolutely superb athlete. Oh, man, boys. Gee whiz. Oh, great move by Mark Gold. Looks for the slam. Good point for the slam.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is NBL Rewind. Hashtag NBL Rewind to get involved. Liam, is this part 2? Of course, we had Al Green last week. This is part 2, right? This is the way we've set this up.
In a way. But look, like Ricky, he's his own thing. There's some talk about Cal, Alvis, Cal, of course, but our man here, the Black Pearl, I cannot wait to get stuck into this one.
Legend, Hall of Famer, superstar, and a guy who was going to launch into stories before we even started recording. So we had to hold him for a split second. Cal Bruton, hello, my man. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Cam? Lou, Liam, nice to see you guys.
Hey, man, let's just talk about how, before we get into anything of your career, I just want to break this straight off the top. The passion that still exudes out of every single pore in your body around basketball and talking about either your career or current day, it is just contagious. You just feel it through the screen right now, man. You love the game still, don't you?
Most definitely. My philosophy on that is that attitudes are contagious. It's yours worth catching. And my attitude has always been, my attitude is my altitude. How high do I want to rise? Always reaching for the top. So that's the way I pass it on to my family and my friends and anyone I come in contact with. The game to me is infectious, as you said. So I just try to spread the good news about it.
Well, you've been doing it for a while.
Before we hit, I want to hit on that a little bit because I feel like this is the key question for this entire conversation. What has the game of basketball, Cal, meant to you? Wow,
that's a good question, Liam. It's meant everything. I lost my dad when I was 7 years of age. He was killed at his place of work in a robbery. And my mom was 9 months pregnant with my baby sister. And I was looking after my sister that's just 10 months younger than me. She's albino, intellectual handicap. And her and I was just about twins, taking baths together and things. And my mom, when she came home after viewing my dad's body at the petrol station, she said, your dad is gone. And she got me out of bed and said, now you have to be my little man. And I need you to help your sisters. Well, my younger sister, I need you to help her and be with her all the way. And when we have the baby, you're going to be the man of the family. And I was the ripe old age of 7. And I was like, I said, okay, Mom, I'm with you, And we struggled for 3 years, moving from house to house. We didn't have money. We were getting food stamps and food from relatives and things like that. And then my mom's settlement came in because she sued the petrol station, and we got to buy a house out in Queens, put a deposit. And she bought the house. And when we moved into it, I was 10 years of age. And she said, see that park over the road? That's your second home. And that park had basketball courts, had a football oval, baseball diamond, and chess boards, sprinklers, handball courts. And I practically lived at that park. And they actually dedicated that park to me when I went back there a few years ago. And they called me the, Rootin' Tootin' Calvin Bruton. I used that basketball as the vehicle. I played all other sports because that kept me seasonal, but basketball was the only sport that you can grab on your own, go to the park, put them up, work on your ball handling. And I remember, and to this day, my friends remind me that while they were going to the parties on a Friday night, cruising by the park, 10:30, 11 o'clock, I was on the court under that one spotlight, working on my J. And it showed me that if I do well at this vehicle could take me anywhere. I went from representing Queens, New York, being all city, to going to scholarship to Wichita, to going to San Antonio and Kansas City for camps, and then eventually going to Brazil, South America, representing the U.S. And obviously I had a chance to come to Australia. So basketball has meant everything. And I tried to use that opportunity to show my boys, I have 5 of them, that, you can use it too, but you have to treat it in the right context. You have to give back to the game, even if you get nothing for it. And you never know when that's coming back to you, but it will be coming. And I must say, over the last 6 months or so, it's been coming back big time. And I'm really proud and grateful to have the opportunity to still give back to it. I'm coaching at a primary school at the moment, trying to help young Indigenous kids in a primary school that's got trouble being educated. So I use basketball as an education tool as well. So it's been huge, Liam. I can't say enough about how much I love the sport, and everybody knows that. They see me at every single court around the place, and I've had some operations that slow me down a little bit, but never stop me. I'm still rolling.
Well, man, it's not just what the game's given to you, it's what you've given to the game, especially in this country. Incredible. What has Australia meant to you in terms of your life?
Well, Australia is my home. And, obviously after all the elections and stuff, everybody said, man, Cal, you voted? Nah, man, I had to renounce my U.S. citizenship back in 1982. So I knew then that I wanted to make Australia my home. I had 3 young boys at that time. One son, Austin, was born here and in Melbourne. And I was living in Geelong. Never forget it, up and down that highway, because he was 3 months premature. And my wife, being pregnant at the time or whatever, they couldn't handle it in Geelong. So he had to go to the Melbourne hospital. And I went up and down that highway because there were no mobile phones back then, checking on her every day, taking my boys to school, driving up. And then I'll take them in the evening sometime with me and had them sitting on my lap driving home, and they were 8 and 5, that kind of thing, 9 and 5. And sure enough, back, I would probably got locked up for years. But back then it was a straight road down the highway to Geelong. And one day my wife was sitting up in the bed and she says, "You're a new dad. You got another son." And I said, "What?" Like, I didn't even know. I was just coming in to say hello. And she said, "Well, we want to see him." And sure enough, I went in to see him. And the interns were all in there with the chief doctor. And he's going around describing what's wrong with all these babies. And my fellow is wired up, but he's got a light on him. And he went over to the humid crib and he looked in. He said, nurses, we got to turn this lamp off. This baby's burning." That's my little son, Austin. He's dark as, we call him chocolate drop. So he turned around and looked at me and went, "Oh, no." Like, I didn't realize the parents are right there. Australia's been a huge blessing for my family. Now, the only thing I miss, obviously, is my 2 younger sisters are still back in the States. I lost my mom, back in '88. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I'm proud to be Australian and proud to have created that pathway for my next generation of young people, grandkids now, 7 of them.
Hashtag NBL Rewind to get involved. So just rolled out. If you haven't watched the game yet, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, NBL TV, on the NBL website, wherever you get all your NBL stuff, make sure you check this game. NBL Rewind, 1984. And yet again, we say this a lot, Liam, but there was only about 350 games we could have chosen, but we were able to go and choose this one. Because this Geelong team, Cal, back in 84, you were rolling. This was a good crew. And a lot of people don't remember, of course, in particular younger generations with no Geelong in the NBL anymore. You were good early 80s and you had a number of seasons, of course, a grand final appearance thrown in there as well. Number of seasons where, if you weren't the best team in the league, you were contending on it on a week-by-week basis.
That's correct. We were a bunch of local boys, and I got a chance to join in on that team, and they gave me the opportunity to bring 2 of my mates with me when I first went to Geelong after my first year in NBL. They wanted to get into the NBL, and they thought I'd be a good draw card for them. So
Just quickly, is that a recruiting ploy? Hey, Cal, you're a star. You averaged 30 last year. You come play for us and bring some mates. We don't care who they are. We don't want to recruit. Cal, you just bring your boys with you. Is that their recruiting
what happened? As a matter of fact, they gave me an opportunity to bring one of my homeboys in whilst I was still in Australia. I had to go pack up and leave because they wanted me to stay. And I said, no, I got my family. I got to get back now. 5 months was a long time. And my friend Walter Murray, God bless him, he's passed away. He came. If you Google Walter Murray, he dominated the VBA back in 1979, and he was going to come back with me. And sure enough, he wanted $50 more a week, and they wouldn't pay it. And of course, Brisbane didn't want to bring my family out. So I said, there's no way I'm coming back. That's sorry. Thank you for the opportunity. And Geelong said, well, we'll bring your family out. How many are there? I said, well, there's 2 of us, and my wife, 2 boys and my wife. They said, is that all? I said, well, then bring 2 of your mates too, and we'll adopt them. So that's how that started out with, God bless him, Rex Stewart, who was the executive behind the Geelong program at that time, and a guy named Robbie Gannon. They came up to Brisbane to see me and then offered me to stay after the grand final in '79, to stay at their home in Geelong. And that's when I did a deal with them pretty much. And I flew out, saw Walter come in, and congratulated him and keep me informed on how things are going. And he did. And I was so shattered they didn't come back, but I got my other homeboy, Johnny Rebels, who still lives here to this day. He's over in Perth. And I call him Homie Smooth. He used to talk like so fast and no one understood him but me. It's like a foreign language. But we won 1980. We went to the grand final my first year of the VBA. We lost to St. Kilda, who were National League champions. So it wasn't a bad come out, Then the following year, we won every single preseason tournament in Wangaratta, Warrnambool, Corio, Leisure Time Center, and we won the Cebu. Then they had this Converse Super Challenge, which pitted us against West Adelaide, Launceston, National League champs, St. Kilda had come back from the Worlds, and we won that, and I was MVP and leading scorer in that, and we got elevated into the NBL and went straight to the final, but we pulled up short. 6 points. You showed that game not long ago. Mm-hmm. And in 83, they split into 2 divisions. Well, we won the West, and they had games over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which was no advantage of finishing on top. And we got knocked out by Canberra and Nunawading. It was the 2 teams that I couldn't sort of get over the hump in the finals at that point. But then 84, I recruited Wayne McDaniels as a naturalized Australian. Had James Crawford there as well, brought in 2 Olympians and Brad Dalton and Danny Morsu, who had come down to me because he blew his knee out in 81. And it took him 2 years to get back on deck. So I thought I had to have someone to deal with Herb McKeechin. So, matchups, and then I can go on field. Me and him can go at it. So we went on and had a good run in 84, 21-2, I think we were. And then got into that same routine of we sold our home game. We sold our soul to Canberra so they can have 5,000 people at the game instead of 800 in Geelong, And they picked us by a few points, and then we came back still flat, and we lost, and that was the end of it. And of course, we went on to win back-to-back VBA championships, but then they had new ownership come in, and the guy told me that because I'm no longer coaching, I have to accept a pay cut, and he said it'd be 50%. And I said, nah, I can't do that one. Sorry. I got 3 sons, I got a mortgage. I was probably the first guy to come over here and really put seeds in. I'm Australian. I said, I can't accept that. He said, well, I'm sorry, then we won't pay you anymore. And I said, well, that's your call. And I hopped on a plane, spoke to Brian Curl, flew up to Brisbane. He had me take a photo in the lobby, you never forget it, with a ball that they just got a sponsorship from West Point, and it was for $27,000, and they thought that was my salary, Geelong. And when I came back, they all over my house asked me, "Well, are you signing with Geelong?" I said, signing with Brisbane. I said, "Well, if you're paying my salary, we'll have to go anyway." I said, "No, we're not doing it." I said, "Well, you answered the question, didn't you?" And then the big removalist truck came about 6 weeks later, and sure enough, here come all the owners. all at my house. You know, oh, Cal, we didn't think you, we'll pay you the back pay. And all. I said, sorry, too late. We're going now. So that was it. I ended up in the Supreme Court. You know, I don't know how many players had to go there, but they wouldn't give me a release. And I missed the first 2 games of that 1985 season because I was sitting in court in Melbourne.
Huh. Why wouldn't they give you a release? You had a contract, right?
Yes, and they canceled it. But then they cried the blues about they lost a lot of sponsorship and membership. And because I was doing all the schools programs and running the camps there and obviously playing probably my best basketball. But they cried the blues that, you know, they suffered as a result of it. And I ended up having to fine $7,000 to actually get a clearance to go play in Brisbane. And that was kind of the unwinding point for Brian Curl and I, because I was asking him, well, you recruited me, can you offset this some kind of way? I can't. Not. And rather than losing 50%, I lost a quarter of my money. So yeah, it was no opportunity to earn anything outside of it. So my family really struggled in Brisbane for those 2 years, but we made it work. You know, my wife was, at the time, was very efficient in the kitchen, you know, and I rode a bicycle, didn't have a car, rode a bicycle all over Brisbane. So yeah, that's how we got through. But
when you look back on those times, then, like what is the emotion? Like you're the best player, if not the best player in Australia, but you're right there in the league, and you got to deal with all this other stuff, and then you got to struggle at home a little bit, try and make ends meet to be able to get through it. What are your emotions of those I guess 24 months?
It was tough. I'm a guy that, you know, when you see me and I'm on show, I'm smiling. I'm not letting you know what's going on inside me. But if you don't see me, you can say, man, something's going on with Cal. Like, what's going? Because I'm not showing that to the general public. So I just tucked my head in. I went to work. I took on a shoe job selling ladies' shoes at Vogue Shoes in Canberra. So I was there 9 to 5 every day, along with Wayne McDaniels. He's working the men's, I'm working the women's shoes, and I did my workouts, and I kept strong until, you know, the opportunity was to go. And then when I got to Brisbane, you know, I had opportunity to play for Australia because my qualification period had expired. And I went on and won the NBL championship. And then a week later, I was on the court representing Australia. And then I was off to the World Championships, you know, the following year in Spain. So, you know, my career move was on a ascendancy, but I was really proud to be, you know, in that position where, you know, I could make a difference for all the other Americans that see me as a guy like, damn, he renounced his U.S. citizenship, you know, like to do this. And then everybody started becoming naturalized, you know, because you can move freely around the country at that point, because usually if you weren't up to scratch, they would put you so much fire in your cave that you had to actually just pack your bags and go back to the U.S. And I wasn't gonna be that guy with a family and everything and having to struggle, but I had to sell my house in order to make ends meet, you know. And what I did, I just brought out my mom and my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law, just so my family can stay connected. And then I just went to work trying to do whatever I had to do to kind of create opportunities for us to survive, you know. So it was all good.
And so that period of time, 85, 86 in Brisbane, I mean, before we hit on that, I was just going to say, I'm glad that we rolled this Geelong game out. And I feel like they're the kind of forgotten Cal Bruton eras, you know, because everyone, we remember the championships, right? There's a championship in Brisbane, a championship in Perth. And we talk a lot about you in Hobart and whatnot, but people forget about how, or maybe even don't even know about those Geelong years and the squad that you guys had. But those years, 85, 86 in Brisbane.
85, 86 in Brisbane. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say championship and a grand final loss. But in the background, you were saying that bit at the start there with Brian Curl was where things maybe started to go sour after he recruited you. That was going on in the background. How did you reconcile that across those 2 years? The fact that you're playing with Leroy, you're playing with this great team, you're having this great success, you're killing it. But the relationship's not great between you and the head coach.
Well, I had a job to do, you know, that was the main thing. And Leroy wasn't coming back in 85 at one point. He had decided that, you know, that he was on hard times back in the States. When he actually came back, he lived with my family for 3 weeks. So that was an extra, you know, sort of commitment from us to try to make it work. But I wasn't going to Brisbane if Leroy wasn't there in the first place, you know. But I found that out after we had moved there. And Brian, at that point, I didn't really know him only as a competitor, you know, because he was at St. Kilda and all that. And he said, you came down to Geelong just to beat me, you know, like, shoot, you was a benchmark. I'm coming after all benchmarks, you know, that's just the way it rolled. And when I got to Brisbane, I have to give him props on his promotional genius. You know, he used me, and I was with him on that journey of creating the highest profile program in the league. You know, we moved from tiny Auckland Flower Stadium to Chandler and to play in the grand final. And then after winning the championship, I went to him and said, well, now that I had to pay that $7,000 and we champions, can it? And he says, well, I'm giving you an office. You know, like an office. Shit, I can't eat an office. Like, come on, you know. Like, and he just said, no, I'm sorry. And then he was building this mansion out in Redlands, and I'm looking at that. And Leroy's living in an apartment with one bed. I'm renting, and I thought, I'm not feeling this one. You know, that was the era where everything was tough, you know. And I was on full-time employment, which really locked me into not being able to earn any dollars outside. You know, I'm running camps. We got the biggest camps in Australia. I'm the director of coaching, so I'm in charge of delivering those camps, but there's no extra money coming my way. And, you know, I was kind of like feeling I'm being bothered, I'm being squeezed, and my family's getting bigger, they need more things. And as you know how that goes, I got my son in a private school, trying to get him along, my oldest, my stepson, trying to get him on his way. And got to a point where, you know, when we went that second year, I went away with the World Championships, had to raise money to come back home on our own because the Basketball Australia wasn't paying for us to leave early. They wanted us to stay in Spain for 2 weeks after we were eliminated from the tournament. And I couldn't do that. Like, I had no money to, you know, I didn't come with money in my pocket, you know, that kind of stuff. But I had to draw down from a bank to actually pay my way back to Brisbane. And then my ankle was that big because back then there wasn't a lot of duty of care for the players. I had sprained my ankle right before we left for the World Championships against David Graham and in North Melbourne. And, you know, when I took off, we landed in Spain, and the trainer, which is Dr. Hardcore, don't want to call him out like this, but had me running on a cobblestone street next to him, you know, because Adrian Hurley, the coach, was upset that he caught a couple of the boys drinking on the back of the plane, you know? And I was like, man, I can't run. Like, look at my ankle. And they says, well, coach said we have to, you know? And I had to run on a cobblestone street in Italy. And by the time the game started, my ankle was that big. I ended up coming back home and had stress fractures, sat out the first 6 weeks of coming back to Australia. And then we made our run. I was coming off the bench. And I asked Brian, I said, you know, now I'm ready. Like, worked my way back. Could you stop me? And he went, nah, I like you stay on the bench. I'm like, Brian, please, you know. And we went ahead, lost the first game in Adelaide, and then we went to Adelaide and we lit them up over there and put them on the back burner. And I know Al like the back of my hand. I said, I done gave him a real touch up. This dude is gonna come back. I need to be on the court with him at the start. And he said no. He wouldn't even let us watch that second replay, the rewind, so I can pick out things because I got my coach's hat on. I wanted to see what not allowed to watch it, just him and the assistant coach. And right then that was kind of, and we went the third game. I think Leroy was in foul trouble or something, and we went down. I had 2 good games there, 38-31, I think it was. And then on the plane going back, I heard him talking to Peter Blucher, who was our sports writer, saying I was in a strict one-on-one with Al, didn't care about the team and this and that. I'm like, what? And it came out in the papers the next day. And that done it for me. That was it. How could you accuse me of going out one-on-one when I know the game, how to play it? No one else has got a hot hand. I'm trying to be aggressive, but I'm always an unselfish player when it comes down to it. And so that just split us right then. And he told me he was going with a younger player, and my time was up.
Look, those couple of years, both on and off the court, sound dramatic. And I mean that of everything that was going on, everything you just explained. Did it all strip away any of that love for, not forever, but like in the moment?
In the moment, Cam, you got to deal with it, right? But my way of always dealing with that stuff is get out with the young kids and have some fun, right? So I was still going, doing my camps, going to the schools, visiting the kids. You can't go into those schools with any sort of, false attitude, because those kids will pick you apart straight away. So I go in there happy as, creating that vibe, trying to high five, stay alive, cut the job, let's go. And the kids are having the ball. And then when I leave, I'm back into my mode. My kids, my own kids, and my wife at the time helped me get through that. But I was a sad dude, man. I'll go home. I wasn't a guy who'd go out much, because I was always conscious of being fit and what have you. But, I was shattered, and I didn't even know whether I'd get another job at that point, because everyone's always thought Cal's got a price tag up here. And they never knew how much money I made. I didn't make much money in basketball at all. I'm telling you. And I did probably the work equivalent of 3 or 4 guys, because I wanted to see the game grow. And that's just been my mantra, grow the game regardless of what you're getting in return. And I think a lot of guys miss that, but I dealt with it, and I became a stronger person because of it, because my son CJ, I can see the potential in him coming up. Elliot was representing Queensland. Austin was just getting started, and I had my quartet. So we used to go 1-on-1, 2-on-2 between us, and that kept me going, because at that point it wasn't about me no more. It was about them, and I had to find a way to look after it. So that led me to Perth.
Hold on.
Yeah, hold on.
Hold on.
Thank you,
glossed
Liam.
over a couple of things there. You said in game 2, you gave him the business. Yeah, you gave him 38, and you beat him. And you beat him in Adelaide, the only team to do it that season, and you kept the series alive. Was that game, that particular game, was that your greatest performance that night?
Yeah, definitely one of them. Yeah, I've had some games where, I'll come out the way I can't just off the bat. I had a 40-point game in Perth and all that, but yeah, in Brisbane, up until that point, yeah, that probably was the greatest game, because that was the first game I felt my legs underneath me again too, and I knew how important it was to have that win, or else the season was over. And I had met Bob Williams on the elevator the night before the game, and he said, heard a lot about you, and yeah, I'm looking forward to watching you play. And I've just heard from our marketing director at Brisbane, Connie Klimko at the time, she's Connie Winton now. She told me, I think Bob Williams is looking at you, for reasons to bring you into the program. You're interested? And I was like, shoot, am I interested? Because at that point, I had already felt the niggles from Curly, and particularly going into that third game when he wouldn't let us watch the video. I thought, it just wasn't professional for me, because I needed it. I wanted the boys to see it. We all were coming into his room, and he just wanted to do his scouting without us, but he wouldn't give us an opportunity to see it at all. And to me, we lost a little edge on that note. And then I tried to convince him that, please stop me for this one, because Al's gone. And he was running by the bench looking at me going, come on out here. And I just had to sit there, take it all, wait for Curly to call on me. By that time, I think we were down by 8 or 9 or something like that, And he's like, yeah, it's on now.
Oh, don't worry. He told us all.
He told us
that last week.
He told us. And then when he finished the story, he backed over it and told us it again. So he told it brilliantly. But what was going through your mind? Like, you're right. You've done everything to convince coach that you should be starting. He and the intro and how that played out for him, and he had a poor game too. And then he comes out and he's like, I'm right. I'm going to get right in his face. And you just have to sit there and go, what is going through your mind?
I'm thinking, this is not good. Just the tone of the game. I mean, they were aggressive, obviously. Ken Cole, the master of motivation, he had them all geeked up. I knew that too, and I was thinking, shoot, Ken Cole over there with them Christmas lights in his heels on his shoes, and Al sitting on the bench just on the court frothing at the mouth, waiting on me, because, as I said, I touched him up and knew I can do it again. Like, that wasn't a problem. Like, I believed in my ability to handle him as a guard, and knew that he wasn't strong going to his right. So I'm sitting on your left. I'm so far on your left, you got no choice but to change hands. When I got into the game, he was like, yeah, like, let's go. and he fell over and picked up a charging foul. Like, I'm looking at ref called charge. He jumped up and all of them, yeah. And I thought, uh-oh, this is going to be a long night. So I had to get myself really back down to earth and settle. And I thought we started to come at them, but they were scoring too freely. And Leroy he's our main man, always has been on every team. He wasn't having the best of games that day, and he was Peter Allied under, crowding them and fouling them and what have you. They were the better team, no doubt, on that game. They deserved the championship, but I felt if I started that game, I could have made a difference, just in controlling the tempo, keeping our guys, finding who's hot, who's not, and creating those opportunities for my teammates.
Let's play that out. Let's play out that scenario. It's NBL Rewind. We can do that. We can go back. It's one of the greatest what ifs in NBL history. You tell us what happens. What happens if you start game 3 of the 86 grand final series?
First of all, I think I'm out the blocks with Al. I'm picking him up full court. So I'm gonna break him right off the start. Because that's where people always give me credit for my offense, but I was always a defensive tenacity type guy. I'm gonna get in your face. You gotta show me what you got, I'm quicker than him. He's faster than me. So I'm not giving him a chance to get off the mark, and I knew how to play him. So how I was able to judge that was when I was player coach at Geelong, I put all my other guards on him and just watch him from the off guard spot. And whenever he come to the left, I used to run at him, make him pick it up or change hands to his right, which slowed him down. But now if I got to get on him, I'm wearing him 94 feet for 48 minutes, and I was prepared for it. And so he's not getting off that game. He can talk all he wants, but he's not. Matter of fact, after we passed that point and went to visit him, I played him one-on-one on the court, got him all mad and frustrated. He called me, you're fouling. I'm like, well, ain't no foul. You gonna be whining? What, you from New York? Come on, man. So we used to go at it like that. But I love that dude. But it comes down to winning chips. I needed that one because he had beat me in 82. And now we beat them in 85, and now we coming for the tiebreak, and I wanted that more than anything, particularly after the comeback trail I had to come through. So I was disappointed that Curly wouldn't give me the opportunity. I don't know who he started. He started Racked. I'm trying to think who else was in the backcourt with him. It might have been, was Bill Ward? I'm not sure. I want to say Bill Ward, but we were behind the 8 ball from the start. The team wasn't in sync. They were all over Leroy, making sure he couldn't get a catch. So that was one less offensive punch that we had on the floor. But Curly was of the mind that I can come on and spark the team from the bench. I still feel like, boy, if he had started me that game, he would still be coaching. I'd probably still be in Brisbane.
I never asked Al this, but I'll ask you. Do you reckon that Al was relieved or disappointed that you didn't start?
Oh, he was happy. He was happy. Yeah. You see me sit over there like, he knew I was mad too. He's like, yeah, come on, when you coming out? He's running by the bench talking to me. Come on out. I'm waiting for you. He's still sitting me there. I'm thinking, this is kind of embarrassing. This dude calling me out. I'm still sitting there. Even if he had sat me for the first minute and then pushed me out there, that would have been better than sitting for that till they got a substantial lead. And then, all right, now let's go. Yeah. And I just think that, again, being a point guard and being able to direct the team in a grand final, which we had just gave them a real spanking. Now I know the areas where we can succeed at. Sibley, Larry, we had guys that set good picks. I can come off it. They're gonna have to switch. If I bring out one of them, it's over because I'm gonna break some ankles there. But also the mismatch, bang, go Larry, go to work on him. Sid, go to work on him. So nobody else on the team can do that but me. And I thought it was an advantage that we let go, which, the proof was in the pudding there.
Well, it happened. You went to Perth. And that's when this incredible run for the Wildcats started. Have not missed the playoffs ever since. You started, and have some fun. What was the origin of that? Where did that come from?
Well, from the States, I had obviously gone back after my time in Brisbane. I went to Perth. I spent 3 weeks in Perth after Bob Williams offered me the opportunity, waiting at home, no job, not knowing, and waiting for that phone to ring. I had calls from other clubs, Bankstown wanted me to come. I had a club in Melbourne. Sydney wanted me to come. But I just felt that my kids were at an age that I didn't want to take them to a big city. You know, I love the atmosphere. And I had been to Perth a couple of times, and I just thought that would be perfect. And they never had a winning season. I could be that guy, that catalyst to get that going. And when Bob Williams called and said that he had gone through things, he loved to offer me the position, I was like, yes, you know. I mean, I was dancing around the house like it was going out of style. I pulled out all the albums and I had the moves going. I was like, my wife came home from work. She said, what's going on here? I said, yeah, we going to Perth. We going to Perth. So she said, well, you go take care of business. And I went over there for, like I said, the 3 weeks to take care of the basics and recruit the team. I had a great guy named Ken Edwards, who became the head of the Olympic Committee push and for the 2000 in Sydney. And he was my coordinator. He was my business manager, so to speak. And he took care of that. And I had Connie Klimko come with me as the marketing expertise. And me and her sat down and we went through the plan on how we're going to basically do a Brisbane in Perth.
So just on that when she mentioned to you that, hey, they might be interested, she was also being sounded out. So she had some inside knowledge on how this might play out. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She gave me a little heads up, you know. She was my little agent on the side, you know, like got me going. And I knew her and her husband, and Ken became her husband. They all put in time with me to make sure that worked. So Connie accepted a role in the marketing, and Ken accepted the admin, and I was the coach and the player. And Bob didn't know anything about basketball. He was like the Midas man, like, you know, I've never been around the sport before, really. So tell me what you need and I'll offer it to you. And he then, when I went there, Ken says, well, how much money would you need? And I'm looking, I'm like, I'm not sure. I haven't even seen all the books yet on the guys. And he goes, what if, Bob said, what if I gave you $100,000? And I went, that's a great start. You know, because back then, our salaries was like $4,000. You know, guys are making $4. This is in 1987. Imagine telling that to Cotton, Bryce Cotton. So I was prepared to, like, yes, whatever you threw at me, I was happy with. What Bob offered me was an opportunity to get my son in a private school there, Hale School. And CJ and Austin was in, you know, sort of primary school at the time. And then what I did was go meet with every single player on the team. Now, I didn't have a great relationship with guys I played against, like Alan Black, but he was there. And I felt, you know what, the best way to let these guys know that I'm invested is to double their salary. You know, I saw that on the books that we can do that. Ken sat with me, said, you sure you want to do that? I said, yep, let's do that. That way we let them know. Only one that was kind of not happy with that, because he thought it was so much money coming to the program, was the captain. Mike was like, shoot, you know, if you're bringing out Tiny and James and all this, I was like, it must be a bunch of money available. But what I did, I backed myself in this one. And it could have been scary, but I took the $100,000 and I spent it on the whole team, except for myself. Didn't have a dime. I didn't take a dime out of that money. And Ken sat down, he told me, like, you sure you want it? I said, yep, I want to make sure we got the best possible team. Bob asked me, could I put together a championship team? And I said, yes. And this team, I feel, because I was matching them up with Ken Cole's 86 champions, right? And I thought, well, they're likely to be there again. So I got to match up with Bill Jones. I got to match up with Mark Davis. I got to match up with Al Green, Darryl Pierce, Peter Alli. I had it all mapped out. We're going one for one, you know? And sure enough, I went to Bob and said, that's the team, you know? And so he looked at me, I had it on a big sheet, and he went down and he goes, it's great, but where's your name? I said, well, I didn't have any money for me left, Bob. I said, but I'm hoping that you can trust in me pushing it and getting it going, and you can look after me the way you feel you may need to, you know, and the way I might have to, you know, look after my family. And he told me, I like that. You know, so he said, okay, we'll work a deal for you. He gave me a little incentive program, and sure enough, I went to work then. I was so happy. He gave me a bonus to go home, to take my family home, because I said, this is the last time we might be home for a while. So I went and saw my mom, my wife's mom. I went to see Dave Atkins and did all that, who helped me get my career started. And then I was ready to come back to work. All I brought was gear. I didn't have no dress clothes, no nothing. I was on the track running. I had the team on the track running. We actually ran a relay race against the West Coast Eagles and Dockers and the track team. And I had those out there like, man, are we track stars or basketballers? I said, yo, we both right now. Right? So we started out with Bob saying, he was really happy with the team. All of us was walking PR machines. So we had things popping off in every single direction, in shopping centers, in schools. We were all going to church. You named it. We were doing it. And sure enough, the crowd started to gravitate to us. And we had to, present ourselves. So Bob said, well, what do you need to actually dress the team out? So shoot, that's right up my alley then. So I was like, oh, well, I got a design over here. We got the uniform, we got the clothes, we got the logo. Bob just said he wants to be the #1 profile team in the country. And he spent it to get us there. And we bought him a uniform as well, so he can come to practice and feel a part of it. And he never even touched the ball, really. He's out there trying to shoot jump shots and everything. And sure enough, we stepped off to go to the preseason tournament. Ken Cole had organized it because, he missed out. Him and I were battling for that Perth job, but Bob decided on me. And I think the edge was Connie Klimko, was a package deal, so to speak, from her point of view, And sure enough, Ken was in Sydney and he organized and he pitted the draw. And the first game up was Adelaide versus Perth, And we came out and gave them a little tap on the back straight away. And they was like, oh, yeah, this is only preseason and we weren't ready. And we, like, that's all right. Work your way through the losers bracket. We'll see you in the final, right? And sure enough, they did that. And we saw them there and we gave it to them again. At one point, I had to go one-on-one with Ray Wood for about 5 straight times, just zigzagging. It was called the one play, the fist play. And I put up my fist, that means ain't no one getting a touch but me. So we went on to win the championship, and what came with that was a $15,000 check. And Bob was just elated. He had to hold up the check, and man, he was so proud that this team that he had just came in on, he just put the Midas touch on it and made us hungry. So the second they offered me to win, I'm like, yo, I'm focused. But we stepped off the preseason and we were scoring 140, 150 in one game. We were rolling, like run, stun, and have some fun was in full effect. And because I had picked up that slogan in New York, I just thought they said run, stun, and gun. I didn't like the gun because that means you just put it up and you could be missing. Nah, have some fun. So you just out there putting the pizzazz, putting the people on the edge of their seat. And if they reach down for the popcorn, they done missed something. So I was trying to throw passes between the legs, behind the neck, and I had Tiny, James, Trevor Torrance running lanes. Like Trevor Torrance was the fastest guy in the league. I reckon I would pay to watch him and Al Green go at it on the foot race then. And I reckon Trevor could have got him too, But he
come on, man.
Yeah, it's a big goal.
Come on, man.
This dude, Lane, this dude could fly. He outran all the brothers on our team. Like I'm talking about, give you an example. We in this relay race with all the guys, and Tiny, James, Jackson, and Crawford coming around the turn, and they give the baton to Trevor, and he's like in 4th place. And I'm on the other side of the field because I'm looking and going, oh no, come on, James, get it to him, Because by the time James got his legs rolling, they done pulled ahead. But he can run too. But by the time he gave it to Trevor, we like, oh no. Trevor grabbed that thing, ran everybody down, and then just kept going. And we all running across the field like, yeah! But this dude was unbelievable. And that set them off. Like we were all of a sudden the highest profile team in Western Australia. And we worked our way right through that season. The only glitch was I was playing for Australia, and back then, there was no postponement of the season. You actually left your team to go play. And we played against the Big East All-Stars, and I was having a good run with Australia. I top scored one or two games, and each game I went away to play, we would lose at our National League games. And finally, I was like, dang, this is just not good, But Bob wanted me to fulfill that ambition to play for the Olympic team, and he pushed for me to do that. But in the end, we finished in 5th place, because we lost those games. We couldn't really make it up, and then we had to make our run from there. So that was a great season. That was probably my most exciting season I played in the NBL because of everything that was going on around the game, as well as what was happening with us on court.
Is it bittersweet that it didn't end in a chip?
Yeah, of course. Like that's what everybody wants. We lost that tough game at home, the first game. Brian Carroll came into our building. It was you played 1 at home and 2 away when you finished on the below the better team. And man, I felt we had them on toast. We were coming, and then the lights went out. And they got a chance to go regroup and in the locker room and everything like that. And by the time they came back, they were fresh, and we were still out there cheering the squad, doing the wave with all the fans and all that. And we lost our little edge. Again, the kid still came down to a 1 or 2 point ball game, I think. But losing that first one at home kind of set the tone, for them to be hyped up. Leroy was hurt when he left because he didn't finish the game. I think he busted his knee on the chair or something. And he was limping, hobbled off, had to be carried. I thought, we got this now, But they managed to hang on because Emery Atkinson,
that's a name.
He brought it, boy. This dude was like a ghetto basher. He was like, no, I'm putting everybody on my back, And I'm looking at Tiny and Jane like, come on, man, take him. Like Emery had that face all curled, like he was like on a mission. And he carried them, and Larry and Rat, and young what's the point guard, Darren Perry, they all hit some little key baskets down the stretch and pipped us. And then we had to regroup and go to Brisbane. They gave us a real touch up over there, So that was the end of that year, but it was a fantastic year for a team that never had a winning season. All of a sudden, bang, we into a championship final.
Liam alluded to it before. So with the Perth Wildcats, who they are today, championships, they're great on and off the court. You were there at the very start. You're a huge reason for things turning around and how that particular season was. When you see the Wildcats, and I know you watch NBL Overtime, so we talk glowingly every single time we talk about a signing or something they do on court, whatever it might be. And we speak about this franchise and being one of the winningest franchises you can possibly imagine. Do you feel with pride? Did you look back and give yourself a little pat on the back when you look back that you were there and a huge reason in '87 for this whole thing starting and what we see today?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I'm so very proud. And people wouldn't even know how much I really put into it over time, and my family. We sacrificed a whole lot to the point where, on my shoulders, but it was probably the commitment that I gave that actually took me away from my wife and my family, because I just was so narrow-minded and focused that, that's what kind of cost me the most at that point. We see what transpired at that point to get to the championship. Once we won it, it was sort of the best thing that's ever happened to Western Australia. We had the best ownership going in the league, even though Bob Williams had struck on some hard times in his building industry. Kerry Stokes that came in and raised the bar. And we were the walking, talking, as I said, PR machines for all of sport and basketball. Now, the Eagles were trying, Mick Malthouse was coming to me and saying, man, I like what you've done. I want to be in your shoes. That's Mick Malthouse, And he helped me launch my book. I'm writing books. I'm doing videos. I'm a president of Children's Week. I'm the general manager and the coach. So it was just a wonderful, wonderful time. And when I look back on it and see how far they've come since then, the continuity, because I feel I was part of the 2 championships because I put everything in place, even though I was a Clayton's GM the second time, because I didn't agree with being the CEO. Kerry wanted me to step up in the CEO role, but I needed to be connected with the sport more so, I felt, because I just retired in '89. I had just lost my mom in '88. I needed something to hold me in the game. So I felt just stepping outside of the game all the way when I was still active as a player. I was still playing in the state league and all that sort of stuff. It just really tried to dampen my enthusiasm and love for the game, which, you know, I struggle with that. If I feel my enthusiasm lose it, I got to find something else to build it back up. Put the nozzle in the tank, you know. So when I look back and see the success, I'm totally elated with what they've achieved. And from that time of bringing in Ricky and James and Tiny and then the local guys that would make sure that we looked after them at that point, they felt pride as well, you know, because they had persevered through all those lean years, and now they're the number one in the whole country. So they walked around with their chests out as well. So from 90, 91, 94, my son then entered into the team at that point, but I was out. I was on the outside looking in, but still proud because I thought he was going to be a part of that thing going forward, particularly the way he started his career off. And then 95 to see him win it again, and then 99 or 2000 when I was back in the league, and I think they won it that year as well. So if you go back and see previous posts, you will see where I felt strongly about making Perth the best team in the country right from the get-go. You know, that was my whole thing. They're going to be the best, and they sure enough grabbed the baton and ran with it. So yeah, I feel very proud to be a foundation member of that success.
You should.
Thank you.
100% should. Hey, just correct me if I'm wrong, and there's a good chance I am. CJ's first bucket was a 3-quarter heave, wasn't it?
Half court, right before the half court. Yeah, he did. And I'm living in Hobart because, of course, all we get is the ABC down there at the time. So I've never seen it, but my phone was off the hook saying, man, your son, boy, he just stepped right in and he just bet. And so I ring him up and say, yo, how was your game? You know, he said, yeah, we won. You know, I said, so yeah, how'd you go? Yeah, all right. I said, oh, anything you do that was like, yo, out of the box? He said, no, not really. You know, like, I said, they told me you made one from half court. He goes, yeah, it kind of went off the backboard. I said, your grandmother put that one in, boy. You know? So yeah, he had a great first third of the season, man. He was the darling of the fans. And of course, you know, not to take any credit on his success, but people were saying, wow, man, this is the junior shoe, you know, like the father, but we love the son. You know, and he was really rising. He was obviously going against Ricky every day, and he used to call me up and say, man, Ricky's playing overly physical with me, Dad. Look, I feel like he's trying to hurt me. I said, nah, he's just trying to make you tough you up. Come on, man. Like, he said, nah, Dad. He's like going after me, you know. I said, well, that's good. You suck it up and keep it going, right? Because I had already knew what Ricky was about. He was a competitor. And it's coming right down to practice. At one point, he punched one of our players right before the finals square in the face on the last practice. Just broke his nose, blood everywhere. I'm like, yo, what's going on? But Ricky's like, I just want to win. And that's how, you know, he didn't tell you that story. But
no, he didn't.
He did leave that one out.
He did not tell us that. So who did he hit?
Yeah, well, you can go back to he punched right in front of about 4,000 fans coming to our practice before the grand final. And he just hauled off. I'm talking to the fans, telling them this is what we're going to do today and this, that, and the other. And you can stay tuned afterward. And next shot turned around like, yeah, boom, blood everywhere. So that was the end of practice. Yo, guys going to the locker room. Sorry, fans, you came here, but that's the end of it. Ricky just disrupted our practice session.
Wow.
So, but that was his tenacity and wanting to win.
Yeah.
And after Oklahoma and all that, he visualized like, hey, we ain't going back there no more. So that was good. And CJ came up against him and wasn't quite mentally charged to tackle that side of it. And then they had Aaron Trahir too that came in the squad, and he was the Adrian Hurling, you know, guy from the AIS and come through the ranks. CJ never had those experiences, so Aaron became the third guard off the bench, you know, working with Rick, and because he had the good exercise as well, of course. And then CJ just got sadder and sadder, and of course I packed up from Hobart at that point, came back because I felt that some things weren't right, and I wanted to right it and make sure that he gets an opportunity to go. My main thing was get his education, you know, because he was pumping petrol at a petrol station. And I didn't like that. My father was a mechanic, and my mom never wanted me to be on the car. But having your son pump petrol while he's trying to be a professional basketball player, I didn't look at that as an equal, you know, for him going forward. So I said, come on, you got choices, man. You can go to another team, you can go to college, or you can battle through this and become hard, you know. And he was like, I said, so you got choices. What do you want to do? And he threw that back at me. You want to go to school? So I said, bet, I'll make that happen. And that's where we started the movement there. But yeah, I was very proud of him. He's as you know,
it turned out all right. It turned out all right.
We're gonna have to skip over a little bit because otherwise we could go for 10 hours, right? Like we got there's so much more to talk about. We got Canberra, coaching Magic and Hobart and heaps more with Perth.
Sydney, Razorback. So
Zach, I want to ask you this. You mentioned you saw the clip, the reel on Twitter the other day that the dunk comp rolled out of DMAC. And you commented and you said, best passer ever in NBL history. On the back of that comment, I want to ask you this. You brought Ricky Grace to the league. Who's the best point guard in NBL history?
Wow. Well, you got a handful of them, that you can choose from. I mean, you can throw Derek Rucker in that mix. The latest guards that's come over, there were some fantastic point guards. I hate to try to go through I got all my yearbooks behind me. I have to go through and just have a look, but I have to go. Ricky was a general. Like, he can control the team. He knew where his strengths were in his team. He was calculating, the whole time he was out there. Adequate score. DMAC was just exciting. You had to be on the edge of your seat when you're watching him play. And he had the size. He didn't worry about the scoring side, but he could score. But more importantly, he would just be diming his team to the max, where everybody wanted to get open. Like, they knew it was coming, some kind of angle. And as far as pure excitement, I'm with DMAC all the way. Also, for what he did off court. He consulted with me about, your family. Like, I like the way you look after your family. And I told him, man, that's all that matters in the end of the day. And he told me about all the kids that he was going to bring out and give them a start. And I was like, you doing it, bro. You go. You're going to make them all so very proud of you. And as a man, that's pretty much what Ricky said. He's just a great, great ambassador for the game. Disappointed that he hasn't really got the opportunity on that level for any sustained amount of time of being involved in the coaching at the highest level and stuff. But as far as pure entertainment, you can't go past DMAC. I mean, he had people packing out to come watch him play. And the team that he had around him, too, wasn't bad either. I watched that grand final when they played against Perth, and I was like, woo, this boy, he is so nice. And I hadn't really studied him, but just the way he handled the ball and the way he can score when he wanted, when he needed to. Yeah. But I admire Rick for his sheer, ferocity and determination. Rick just wanted to win. Like, there's just no if he scored 2 points, he was happy, long as we won, But then I would see him in the early stages when he came to us. The Alan Black had him playing on 2-guard spot, and Ricky was dropping 28 a game, So he can score, but I didn't think that was his strength, and I didn't want him being looked at as having to do that and taken away from the James Crawfords and the Tiny Penders and the Mike and the Steve Davises, all the guys that put around them, because I was the point guard of that team and I knew where it was. So I looked at him after doing a lot of film and talking to him about it. So Rick, that's why I said his memory was short. He knew about Australia because I'm over there visiting with him, sleeping in the room with him, gave him an Australian book, took him out, played him one-on-one, told him about, don't be telling me that you didn't know where Australia was and this and that. But his memory is getting a little bit better, Cam. When he corrected you and said, I don't want to take all the credit because I was here in 87.
Yeah.
He had never said that before, so
yeah.
He knew you were watching.
He knew you'd be watching. He thought if he'd get away with it, he might have just left it at what I was giving him.
Would either of those guys have been able to handle the Pearl?
You know what? It's funny. After the end of my career, I had to play against DMAC and all that in the little promotional games and stuff. I was just too quick for all those dudes in my prime, really. And I was a scorer. I felt, from my days in New York, I just come at you. So you got to guard me. And if you think you can stay in front of me, good luck. But I'm gonna try to draw fouls on you too. I like to see you on the bench watching me, right? Take on your second tier guy. But now you know, I knew how to use my team to score. So I had guys like, you know, Craig Herbert back in Geelong days. You know, he looked like a front rower in the football, in the rugby league, you know. So I used to say, yo, set the pick right there, pick. And when the team looked, the opposition looked to see where the pick was, I'm going that way because that's where Tamba's at. And I used to, boom, let the players run into him. So now guys are looking around. Tiny Pender used to set ferocious picks for me too. Yeah, just bring him my way, man. I got him. I'll sort him out. Bring him my way, right? So that's the way I kind of basically use my team to get the most out of not only myself, but out of them as well. Because, you know, guys like Steve Davis and to a lesser extent, you know, James Crawford, he didn't set picks. I used to just throw it to the rim for him, you know. But I think the strength of any good point guard is knowing the strengths of your team and how to get them going and what motivates them. So, as I said, we get out on the break, I got guys busting to get to a lane, you know, because they knew it was coming. And it all depends on which way I wanted to go with it, you know. And most of the time, it was the guy that was in the front that's going to get the opportunity. So we didn't hesitate to get on out. So, yeah, I enjoyed that side of it to the max.
As you touched on there, you set the table for so many superstars. Liam asked about the best point guard. Who it was? Who's the best player you played with?
The best player has to be Leroy. You know, I love playing with Leroy. He was the total consummate professional player. You know, like at practice, no different from the game. You know, when I came to practice, I was there early because I knew when Leroy come in the gym, a lot of times Ryan used to pit us up against each other. And shit, I don't like losing either, you know. But so I knew if we coming up again, I got to be ready because he wouldn't be guarding me necessarily, but I knew he was going to bring it with his team, right? And of course, at the end, when I was on the second team, I was keen to get back at him. But Leroy was the guy that made everybody better on the court. And if you had to jump on his little skinny shoulders, he would say, come on, all of you, get on my back, you know? And I never forget that 85 final when he got going and he looked at me and he said, let's go. He had his fist pumping, like, let's go. You know, I'm with you, boy, I'm with you. And every time he went, woohoo, I'm throwing the ball in that direction because the rest of it is history. You just can watch him, you know? But yeah, he was the best. And then probably as a runner-up, you know, I seen JC evolve in the game. He came over here at the one game he played with us, he busted his leg up. And I saw enough in that game to say to the ownership, you know, they ready to send him home like they do. That's it. Go. I'm like, nah. And we looked after Jay. My wife cooked meals and we used to go by his house and we'd pick him up, take him out and, you know, just to get him. And it took obviously 9 months for him to recover. And he really came into that 82 season with a skinny leg. And he was still very gingerly on it. But he went ahead and played the first game in Perth. And he played really well. Like they got a little more confidence. And then I saw him evolve around to become, you know, basically one of the best small forwards, power forward in the competition of all time. So James was probably the second best player I played with. And probably as a third player, I have to go Wayne McDaniels. You know, like Wayne, when you look at his stats, you go, really? Like this dude shooting 55, 57%, dropping 25, 26, 28 a game. You know, wasn't great defensively, but you know, he the body, gee, you see him in the weight room, like, you know, he was a specimen. And to have him and JC, shoot, you know, like I just pick a choice, like we're gonna get a bucket and it's gonna be at Angels shooting 62%, you know, back shooting 57 is like, yo, these dudes don't miss. I just want to be out around 44, 45. Let me just get one up.
The really, really, really cool thing that you've been a part of recently is the working group with the NBL towards the Reconciliation Action Plan, which got launched a couple of days ago. Such a massive step. I'm wondering, given all of your experiences across your journey in the game and in life, and the work that you've been doing post-basketball and your involvement in this league for such a long period of time, what has this process And what does that plan mean to you?
Man, that meant the world to me. That really, probably other than, seeing my kids grow up to be independent, my 3 older ones and 4 older ones now, my daughter and my 2 young boys coming through, to see how that landscape has changed as a result of us pushing that envelope and seeing the NBL really grab it with both feet. Well, I'm sorry, with both hands, and say, oh yeah, we going with this. Larry and Jeremy and Anita and everyone else involved in that rap working group really put some things forward to help indigenous population. I've helped a lot of those young men come through, from Danny Morsu, seeing him break his leg and be out for 3 months, then say, come to my program. I love to make sure that you don't slip through the cracks, and then he went on to become Olympian with me in 1984. And although we didn't win a championship, we won a VBA title, I've had Patty Mills here as a youngster and have him come to my training sessions at Canberra and playing one-on-one while the guys are stretching. They all go, ooh, don't let him get you, coach. Don't let him get you, and encouraging him to go on about his journey. The Kerry Williams, the Timmy Dugans, traveled around the country, making sure Deborah Georges, making sure I identify with them. Because, I come from a ghetto, Black predominantly, and opportunities are hard to get. To come here and see the young indigenous kids playing ball with no shoes on, in these areas where the concrete is stinking hot. And those kids out there looking at me wide-eyed, wanting to learn, looking for, that just opened my heart. So I'm very proud to be a part of that group. Is it's something that I felt strongly about. People of color haven't had many opportunities in this game. Once you finish playing, and I was a guy who got probably the furthest in terms of being in management, you haven't seen no one get those sorts of opportunities before. Nice to see Corey now in the broadcast booth, because those opportunities hadn't been opened up to anybody else. Once you played and gave your service there, it's like, okay, that's enough. See you later. Where in terms of an indigenous, you got no chance at getting through. So to see us actually take that next step and create the RAP, whereby now each and every team will have a responsibility to have a development player in the squad and have support around it. It's all right to bring up Aboriginal player in your team, but what happens when he's got a hard time? Who does he go to? Now we have one. Nathan Jawa was the only one. When I played, we had 2 in 1979, Claude Williams and Danny Morsu, So to see how that had regressed, it's nice to know that now there's building blocks in place that you might see 10, when the Tasmanian team come in, at least running out on the court and being a part of that culture and being a representative of their people. To me, that makes me really proud. Like I've tried to knock on those doors for coaching opportunities, for managing opportunities, for representation with the Australian team. That was my goal, to be an Australian coach one day. And God bless my mom, but she said, no, it wasn't meant for you. It was meant for CJ. This was before she passed away. And then to see him sitting on the sideline with Andre last year, or Will Weaver, that made me felt like that. That was a real big step. So I would love to see. I've been selected for the BA emerging coaches, and that was a process that I had never had the opportunity to go through before, thanks to Peter Lonergan, the high performance coach and and director. He basically gave me a platform to say, here's these young coaches coming through, Cal. Here's the information. You read it. We had lunch. He said, I'm happy for you to make this conversation uncomfortable for me. And I thought, wow, that's the first person that's ever come to me with that pick, with that spiel. And I tried to make him wiggle in his seats to tell him the situation I've been through, I've been confronted with. And he felt proud to say, I'm with you, So now when I see that list of players and see them now, list of coaches and see them now narrowed it down to 33 all over the country. And I had something to do with that. That made me proud. But more importantly, now I went back to Peter just this week and said, you think these emerging coaches can now take on a responsibility of an indigenous trainee? because that's where my heart lies now. And I haven't had the chance with the basketball, but I've been pushing the envelope. I've been with AFL Sports Ready for the last 6 years. And now they label me as the master coach. My job is now to go around and create opportunities for these young Indigenous kids and disadvantaged and multicultural. And so I go knocking on doors for employers. And I use my Bruton basketball vehicle to try to create, these opportunities. And now I see what that program has done for so many Indigenous young people, as well as others and non-Indigenous. And that now with the basketball, I think it's taking things to another level. So what NBL has done is huge. BA is trying to get it done now too. They never even thought about it in the past, I felt, because I can show you emails and things where I was pushing this for about a good 15 years, going to the top level. And they get upset with me because, they think I'm out of line, And what happened with Black Lives Matter kind of really brought everything to the surface. And then I could be a spokesman for what I've gone through. And now people say, oh, yeah, we should try to open these doors now. So yeah, I think it's been absolutely fantastic. And I'm really excited. What that rap means now is action.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been a part of, with my wife, we got trainees at the ARC, the Australian Research Council. And we got them coming in, they graduating through the program. They now got full-time work in there. You see them get a little glide and stride, a little dip in their hip. They actually rolling through there and getting full-time employment. I've got them in the schools. I got them in the corporate services. I got them, now trying to get this in the basketball. So it's not, as I said to you about CJ, it's just not about the job. It's about the education, so they can grow. So my only concern with us having just the players come in, it's got to be more than just playing. They got to have something that they can hang their hat on after the ball stops bouncing, And I'm one that, I had to, when I finished in Perth, couldn't get a job, I had to jump on a postie bike and deliver the mail. Swallow my pride. It didn't matter to me. I'm supporting my family, but people looking at me like, I don't think there's a championship coach around that's been on a postie bike delivering the mail.
I reckon you might be right.
I was waking up 4 o'clock unloading trucks. Didn't bother me because I was a garbage man before I came here. I used to pick up that trash for my cash. It didn't matter because it was all about the survival, and looking yourself in the mirror every day, knowing that you bring your best to the surface. So to offer this to the young kids, to let them know that this is my experiences, if I can do it, I'm a Hall of Fame championship coach, championship player, played for Australia. I'm 5'7" with my shoes off. If I can do it, you can do it too. You know what? And I'm gonna press your buttons to see that you go that way. So I'm in a primary school with 120 Indigenous kids. 80 of them have been suspended from school. So they call me, Cal, can you come help? I got 26 of the baddest kids all time in my program. And boy, they ready to fight, they ready to cuss. And now I've been moved the needle, to show them, particularly with NAIDOC week and all that, I've been 2 years here. I've coached Division II teams here, in Canberra, where my son's been, suspended and all this sort of stuff, allegedly punching somebody, which, and mine is like, okay, let's find out how we tackle what you feel is the racism side of things and being not inclusive, and this is where I think we got the greatest movement ever, because now they're being included and now they're feeling worthy. And now we talked about at the beginning, the attitudes are contagious. It's yours worth catching, And now I see this starting to happen, this movement. And that's thanks to the NBL really punching it home. I've had some great conversations online. I actually went to Danny Morsu and said, come on, man, how come you're not on this board? Because he wasn't included. And I'm like, he said, well, no one asked me. He was all upset. I said, well, whoa. Let's find out how we get you on, And I pushed that. Next thing you know, bang, he's there. Now here's the first championship NBL Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander. And he's representing his people, The Timmy Dugans, the Kerry Williams, as I mentioned, Deborah Georges, Cloyd Williams. I've been chasing him up to say, What are you doing now? He's in the tennis now, you know. All right, well, you be find the next Curios, you know, get that going. But I'm super proud because I'm on the back of that. I'm launching the Bruton Basketball Foundation, you know, for the indigenous, the disadvantaged, and the non-indigenous. And that, to me, is going to be my legacy rolling out. See, I'm 66 now. I reckon I got a 4-year window, you know, to try to make some things happen for the kids like me when I came up. You know, without a dad, don't have that support. Who do you call to? You got a mentor? Yep. Let's go. I'll be the mentor, or I'll handball you. Someone else is going to take that role and give you that pathway so that you can actually go forward in life. And to think that I come from Brooklyn, New York City, you know, as a 7-year-old fatherless young man, to come all the way to Canberra, you know, after being on many destinations around this country, you know, my proudest achievement besides my kids is that I've traveled to every single state and territory in Australia and hundreds of communities, all right, piggybacking on different partnerships, you know, AFL Sports Ready, Charity, Bounce, you name it. You put your hand up, you want Cal, I'm coming, all right? I'll pay my way. I'll find a way to get there, you know. My car, so proud of it, the Audi Q7, which I sold for 11 years, I sold cars, right? Has 297,000 kilometers on it. You know what? I just give it new shoes all the time, make sure she's serviced. Everybody look, man, that car looks new. Shit, you damn right. My mother told me if you don't have a dime, you make sure you look like you have it, right? And that's the way people see me. My wife told me, won't you, geez, why your sneakers so white? Or why you always gotta have new sneakers? I said, because the first thing they look at is my shoes. And then next thing you know, they look at my head. So I got to keep that shade clean like I'm in the Marines. And then I'm earning the respect because she said, but maybe you should look raggedy because you got nothing. You know, like, you know, I got everything I need. I got a roof over my head. I got food in my mouth. I got happy kids, you know, and grandkids. So that's it for me, you know. So now trying to extend that to the young Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander kids, that philosophy, and help them if I can in some kind of way, shape, or form, I'm all in.
Love it. Love it. And that is essentially why you've been lighting everything up, both on and off the court, for 41 years in this country. And we have, as Liam touched on earlier, we could have did this for another 8 hours, I reckon, which means there's a couple of NBL Rewind Part 2s we're going to have to get to at some point down the track, I think, Liam, and may even combine a couple to be able to thrash a few things out that it may have probably happened on the court in the past. Liam, any last words before we let Cal go?
No. Thanks so much, Cal, for not only for today, but for everything you've done for the game. And, you know, people, Australian people, Indigenous, non-Indigenous in this country over the time you've been here, mate. You've got a massive heart, and we're lucky that you came here in 1979.
You paved the way, mate. Thank you so much. Hashtag NBL Rewind to get involved. We will speak soon, Cal. Very, very soon.
No, thank you, guys.
If you haven't watched this game, check it out right now at NBL on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, NBL TV, however you get your NBL content, and our main man out there on the court doing his thing. Hashtag NBL Rewind. We will see you next Tuesday for NBL Overtime.